If this video would be about just the one brush, this would be the one. Hello art friend! In this video I'll show where you can get my brush set for free and how to actually use the brushes to get most out of them. To download my brushes, go to my Gumroad, link in the description. They are made for Photoshop, but they also work in Procreate and Clip Studio Paint, and maybe a bunch of other software as well, as long as they accept Photoshop brush files. So I thought about this set and I was trying to create a brush set that is versatile as possible and at the same time relatively small. Through the years we are hoarding so many brushes, but at the end of the day you end up using only a few of those constantly. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with 80-20 rule. Also, I hate when I'm downloading brush packs because I have no idea how to use them. That's why I made this little video. I'm not selling those, I'm sharing them for free because I found them online, so I'm trying to, share them as well. I try to organize these brushes in some kind of system, and like always you can use the timestamps to navigate through the video. Now I walk you through the brush set, tell you how I use them, how you can use them, so that you can benefit from what you're creating. So the system is simple. We start with the hard brushes, then we have soft brushes, gradients, round brushes and texture brushes. So that's a full set, let's see them in action one by one. So my general way of painting is that I usually block the shape and then I lock transparency and paint the shadow in it on a separate layer, similarly to the process from my grayscale to color tutorial. This is the brush that I'm using the most. And it's pretty cool because it has a really strong edge in it, but at the same time when you go a bit softer, you get a really lovely texture effect around the edges. So yeah, this brush is pretty helpful for that blocking stage. And then the second brush is a variation of the previous one, but it has more texture in it. I'm using this for transition area, so if you want to have a softer edge, I use this brush in a different direction. In this video you will see a pattern that I basically like to paint the hard shape, block the light, and then soft the edges around it to create the transition areas. So the third one is again the same brush but with a different setting. It has this scattering effect and it's good for blocking bushes and clouds and stuff like that. Then I would use a smudge brush to soft the edges a bit. Also, if you make it really big, you can create some texture effect as well with this brush. The next one is again a blocking shape brush, but with a different feeling and texture effect. If you go soft with this brush, you can get a really nice hard to soft transition. The next one is soft but textury. It reminds me of smudging with charcoal sachet, like Casey Bow, or you can also use it when you want to soften up some structures and add a global shadow. Next we have a few soft brushes. You are probably familiar with how to use them, but if not, they are extremely useful for gradients or glow effects. The first one is soft around the edges, but it doesn't have a pen pressure in opacity. The second one have more defined shape. The next two are even softer, so I hope you see the pattern. So we go from hard to soft. This amount of soft brushes is probably too much, but I like to have control in this area. The next one is probably my favorite brush ever, and I call it super soft. And if this video would be about just the one brush, this would be the one. I'm using this to create global shadow, haze, or you can use it to create sunbeams from the sky if you tilt it and add some variation. You can also use this to paint ambient occlusion shadow. And the last one is soft but textured. I usually use it for things like dust, dirt or something like that. You can also paint it a bit and then use a transformation tool to distort it in perspective to add some depth. The next two are gradient brushes and I love them because they have an innate contrast inside of the brush. So one side is hard and the other is soft, so it's like a combination of two brushes in one. First one is more digital in feeling, more sterile. So it's a pretty good brush for chiseling out the shapes. Depending on how you put the stroke, you will get a different gradient edge. So I usually like to add some kind of chiseling here and there on rocks. It's also good for painting grass blades and leaves. And the other one is more painterly because it has a slight texture. I sometimes use it for sketching because it has this pencil feeling. Here you can also see that I use this one to create darkened accents. It's a really cool brush. The next one is my sketching brush. I typically try to go simple with my sketch, so the brush is pretty simple. I don't have pressure sensitivity. I don't care about line wave that much. That's why this brush is pretty simple. With animation work, usually the last part of animation is cleaning up, and they use those brushes that don't have any opacity, so liner is clean. Yeah, the next one is a blocking brush, but without any texture. Sometimes I like to use this round brush instead of this one because I don't need additional texture. Also, this one is rarely used just to paint. This is going to be brush that I use mostly as an eraser, so this way I can get some nice clean edge. And the next one is pretty similar, but it has some transfer, like a pressure sensitivity. So similarly with the soft brushes, we go super hard to soft to texture. Speaking of texture brushes, let's move to them now using this round brush as a bridge. I like this brush because you can add some additional texture here and there, but I don't use it that often nowadays. This one is pretty similar, but it has more texture on the edges. So for example, this one has a broken edge with texture, and this one is more texture on the end of the spectrum. So yeah, sometimes I'm using this one for blocking. This one is pretty good for like tree trunks and stuff like that. And the next one is a brush that has a lot of texture in it. And if you go really hard, it still creates this lovely silhouette. It can also be very good for this kind of situation. Let's say you want a painterly bush or like tree shapes or grass. It's really versatile. And also I was using this brush a lot when I was doing those free value studies that I made a video about it some time ago. Same with this one. I really like the innate texture with it. And if you press very lightly, you will be able to get this nice, soft, random details. A very useful brush for a lot of different scenarios, especially things that are organic in nature, like ground, leaves, bushes, dirt roads, so many options. And again, if you go hard, it creates this solid shape. This one is much softer, but it still creates some texture. I was using it a lot in the past for rock texture or soft texture transition areas. And the last one is exciting because it has this interesting effect inside of this brush. It's visible especially with the colors because the colors from underneath starts to blend out almost like an underpainting. I used this brush a lot when I was painting those quick map crunch studies. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this little video and I hope you will enjoy those brushes. If you paint something with those brushes, feel free to drop them on my Discord server, link down below. Have a beautiful day, art friends.